Good evening. Inside a glittering private reception in Riyadh, where chandeliers shimmered like constellations and diplomacy moved behind velvet smiles, a single comment, quiet, almost careless, slipped into the air. Those present would later insist it wasn't meant for public ears, but in a world where power and curiosity collide, nothing stays hidden for long. At the center of the storm was Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, a figure synonymous with bold reforms, calculated risks, and global intrigue. Across continents, his words carry weight, sometimes enough to reshape narratives overnight. And on this particular evening, one name allegedly crossed his lips: Meghan Markle. Not as a passing mention, not as a casual reference, but as part of something far more explosive. Those in attendance would later describe the moment in fragments, like witnesses recalling lightning. A diplomat, a media executive, a royal-connected intermediary, each telling differed slightly. But one detail remained consistent. The Crown Prince allegedly hinted at knowledge, insights into Meghan's past, decisions and motivations that, if revealed, could rewrite everything the public thought they knew. At first, it sounded like speculation, elite gossip, the kind that thrives in closed rooms and disappears by morning. But then came the phrase that changed everything. The world doesn't yet understand the full story. That line, repeated and leaked through shadowy channels, ignited a firestorm. Within hours, the rumor had traveled from Riyadh to London, then across the Atlantic to California, where Meghan and Prince Harry had built their new life. Newsrooms buzzed, royal watchers scrambled, social media erupted into chaos. What could Mohammed bin Salman know that the world didn't? Was it political, personal, or something buried deep within the complex web of Meghan's rise? From Hollywood actress to Duchess of Sussex, the silence from official channels only intensified the speculation. No confirmations, no denials, just silence. And in the world of power, silence often speaks the loudest. As the rumor gained momentum, attention turned, inevitably, to Meghan herself. Long before royal titles and global scrutiny, she had carved out her own identity: actress, advocate, and voice for change. Her journey had been anything but conventional. But now, under the shadow of this alleged bombshell, every chapter of her life was being re-examined. Old interviews resurfaced. Past connections were scrutinized. Even the smallest details became pieces of a larger, speculative puzzle. Supporters rallied, defending her fiercely. Critics, meanwhile, leaned into the mystery, asking, what if there was more to the story? While the world speculated, one question loomed above all. How would Prince Harry respond? Sources, again unverified, painted a picture of tension behind closed doors. Harry, known for his protective nature, was said to be deeply unsettled, not necessarily by the claims themselves, but by the implication that someone of Mohammed bin Salman's stature might possess undisclosed information. In Montecito, the atmosphere reportedly shifted. Private conversations stretched late into the night. Phones buzzed with calls from advisors. Strategies were quietly discussed. Because this wasn't just gossip anymore. It was geopolitical. What made the situation so volatile wasn't a confirmed statement, but the power of suggestion. No documents had been released. No concrete accusations had been made. And yet, the mere idea that a global figure like Mohammed bin Salman had something to reveal was enough to trigger a worldwide frenzy. This is how modern narratives are shaped, not always by facts, but by the spaces between them, the unknown, the implied, the possible. By day 3, the story had evolved into a full-blown media spectacle. Headlines screamed variations of the same question: what does MBS know about Meghan Markle? Panel discussions turned heated. Experts debated endlessly. Some urged caution, reminding audiences that nothing had been confirmed. Others leaned into the drama, treating the rumor as a ticking time bomb. And through it all, Meghan remained publicly silent. In moments like these, alliances become visible. Public figures, celebrities, and commentators began choosing sides, some defending Meghan's character, others suggesting that powerful people rarely speak without reason. A former insider, identity unknown, allegedly hinted that Meghan's global connections were more complex than previously understood. But again, no proof, only whispers. Back in the UK, the royal family reportedly monitored the situation with quiet intensity. While Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, maintained their public composure, insiders suggested concern behind the scenes. Because regardless of personal dynamics, any controversy involving Meghan inevitably rippled back toward the monarchy. And this was no ordinary controversy. Then, just as the world reached peak speculation, a new twist emerged. A journalist, known for uncovering sensitive international stories, teased the possibility of a forthcoming report. Not confirmation, but context. The announcement alone sent shockwaves through global media. Was the truth finally about to surface? Or would it deepen the mystery even further? In this fictional narrative, Meghan eventually responds, not with denial, not with anger, but with something far more powerful: control. In a carefully crafted public statement, she addresses the rumors indirectly. In a world where narratives can be shaped without truth, I choose to stand in mine, with clarity, dignity, and unwavering strength. No names, no accusations, just a message. And yet, it shifts the tone entirely. As the dust begins to settle, one question remains unanswered. Was there ever a real bombshell? Or was this entire episode a perfect storm of power, perception, and speculation? Because sometimes, the most explosive stories aren't the ones confirmed, but the ones that leave us wondering. In a world driven by influence and intrigue, figures like Mohammed bin Salman and Meghan Markle exist at the intersection of reality and narrative. Just when the frenzy seemed ready to plateau, something unexpected surfaced. Not a statement, not an interview, but a leak. A blurred, low-quality video clip, its origin unknown, began circulating within private media circles before quietly slipping onto public platforms. At first glance, it appeared insignificant: a dimly lit room, indistinct figures, fragments of conversation barely audible over background noise. But one detail changed everything. A voice, calm, deliberate, was allegedly identified by some as belonging to Mohammed bin Salman, and within that voice, a reference. Not direct, not explicit, but unmistakably connected, according to speculation, to Meghan Markle. Audio experts, commentators, and self-proclaimed insiders dissected every second of the clip. Then came the moment that ignited chaos. If it comes out, it changes everything. That single sentence, context unknown, meaning unclear, was enough to send global media into overdrive. Was it about Meghan? About politics? About something entirely unrelated? No one knew. But the timing was too perfect to ignore. Across the ocean in California, the mood shifted from concern to urgency. Inside the private residence of Prince Harry and Meghan, the atmosphere reportedly turned tense. Phones rang constantly. Legal teams were consulted. Trusted allies were brought into quiet conversations. Because this was no longer just rumor. This was narrative warfare. And in that battlefield, perception could be as powerful as truth. Meghan, known for her composure under pressure, was said, within this fictional narrative, to take control swiftly. Sources imagined her response as calculated, not reactive. She didn't rush to deny. She didn't lash out. Instead, she began preparing. Statements drafted but not released. Interviews considered but postponed. A strategy built not around defense, but around timing. Because sometimes the strongest move isn't to speak immediately, but to wait until the world is listening at its loudest. Meanwhile, back in the UK, tensions quietly escalated. Though no official statements were made, insiders speculated that senior royals, including Prince William, were watching developments with increasing concern, not out of loyalty, not out of rivalry, but out of necessity. Because any global controversy tied, even loosely, to Meghan inevitably echoed back toward the institution itself. And this felt unpredictable. Then came the moment that changed the trajectory of the story. The same investigative journalist who had teased context finally broke their silence with a cryptic post: "The narrative isn't what you think, and the truth is far more complicated." Attached was a timestamp, a date, and a promise. A full report within 48 hours. The countdown began. Across social media, speculation turned into obsession. Threads analyzing the blurred video went viral. Theories multiplied by the minute. Some claimed insider knowledge. Others dismissed everything as fabrication. But one thing was certain: the world was watching, waiting, holding its breath. Then, just 24 hours before the report's release, Meghan made her move. Not a press conference, not a dramatic reveal, but a subtle shift. A carefully timed public appearance, poised, confident, unshaken. Photographs captured her expression, calm, almost knowing. And within hours, a short message was released through her team: "Truth doesn't fear noise." 5 words, and suddenly the narrative tilted. Behind the scenes, however, the pressure was mounting. In this fictional account, Prince Harry was said to be reaching a breaking point, not because of any confirmed revelation, but because of the relentless uncertainty. For someone who had already walked away from royal life to protect his family, this felt like a different kind of threat, not institutional, not personal, but global, and far harder to confront. Then, at last, the report was released, not explosive in the way many expected. No shocking confessions, no undeniable proof. Instead, it presented something far more unsettling: ambiguity, fragments of conversations, context without clarity, implications without conclusions. It didn't confirm the rumors, but it didn't fully dismiss them either, and in doing so, it ensured the story would never truly end. In the days that followed, reactions were divided. Some declared the entire saga overblown, a case of speculation spiraling out of control. Others insisted the lack of clear answers was itself suspicious. And through it all, the two central figures, Mohammed bin Salman and Meghan Markle, remained publicly distant from the chaos, their silence fueling interpretations on all sides. But here's where the story takes its most unexpected turn, because in the end, the so-called bombshell wasn't a revelation, it was a mirror, reflecting how quickly narratives can form, how easily perception can become belief, how power, real or imagined, can shape global conversation without a single confirmed fact. As the world slowly moves on, one question lingers: was this the end of the story? Or just the beginning of something far bigger? Because in a world where influence travels faster than truth, the next bombshell could already be waiting. Sometimes, the loudest explosions aren't made of facts, but of questions that never get answered. Just when the world believed the storm had begun to fade, it surged back, stronger, darker, and far more personal. This time, it wasn't a leak. It wasn't speculation. It was a sighting. In a quiet, ultra-private European location, far from cameras and press, two powerful circles were rumored to have crossed paths. No official records, no confirmed guest lists. But whispers spread that someone connected to Mohammed bin Salman had met discreetly with an intermediary linked to the world of Meghan Markle. Not a direct meeting, not face-to-face, but close enough to ignite a new wave of speculation. Why now? According to fictional insiders, the meeting lasted less than an hour. No phones allowed, no digital trail, no witnesses willing to speak openly. But one detail, small yet chilling, began to circulate. An envelope, hand-delivered, unmarked, and reportedly thick. Inside, no one could say for certain. Some claimed documents. Others whispered about transcripts. A few suggested something even more unsettling: recorded conversations. Back in California, the reaction from Meghan was, once again, unexpected. No panic, no visible concern. Instead, she reportedly withdrew from public view for just long enough to raise eyebrows, but not suspicion. Those close to her in this fictional telling described a shift, not fear, but focus. Because if there truly was information being passed behind closed doors, she needed to know exactly what it was, and more importantly, who controlled it. For Prince Harry, however, patience was running out. This wasn't just about rumors anymore. It wasn't even about reputation. It was about trust. In this imagined chapter, Harry is said to have pushed for clarity, demanding to know whether any part of Meghan's past, connections, or global relationships could be misinterpreted or weaponized. Not out of doubt, but out of urgency, because the stakes had shifted from public opinion to something far more unpredictable. Just when it seemed the story had reached its peak, the journalist who had released the ambiguous report reappeared, this time with a far more direct message. There are layers to this story that haven't been uncovered, and some of them were never meant to be. No teaser, no timeline, just a warning. And suddenly, the narrative took on a darker edge. Across the ocean, the British royal household reportedly adopted a new strategy: distance. No comments, no subtle signals, no behind-the-scenes leaks. Figures like Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, maintained a carefully curated public presence, focused entirely on duty, stability, and continuity. But insiders imagined something else entirely: a quiet understanding that whatever was unfolding was beyond the control of tradition. Then, without warning, another clip surfaced, clearer this time, longer, still incomplete. It didn't confirm anything outright, but it introduced a new element, a discussion, not about Meghan directly, but about influence, global image, and the power of narrative shaping in the modern era. Once again, some voices speculated the involvement of Mohammed bin Salman, but as before, nothing was verified, and yet the implications felt heavier than ever. In response, Meghan made her boldest move yet, not defensive, not reactive, but strategic. A high-profile interview was announced, no topic specified, no questions revealed, just a date and a promise. Nothing is off the table. As anticipation builds, the narrative shifts once more, because now, for the first time, the story is no longer being shaped solely by whispers, leaks, or speculation. It's being shaped by choice. Meghan's choice to speak, Harry's choice to stand beside her, and the world's choice to believe, question, or walk away. But beneath the drama, beneath the intrigue, lies a deeper truth. This was never just about one alleged comment or one supposed revelation. It was about power. The power to suggest, the power to imply, the power to create a narrative so compelling that it becomes reality, whether it's true or not. And in this fictional world, both Mohammed bin Salman and Meghan Markle exist at the center of that power. As the interview approaches, one final question echoes louder than ever. What's inside the envelope? Because whatever it contains, real or imagined, it has already changed everything. Sometimes the truth isn't what explodes, it's what waits, quietly, in the shadows, until the perfect moment to be revealed.